One of the most challenging elections that I ever presided was the Lugari by-election around early 1994, early 1994. When returning officers are training presiding officers, they also assess the suitability of the presiding officer while posting. I remember I was free with Mr. Kasheru, Morris Kasheru, the returning officer, simply because he was known to my family. He was a friend to my father. So when it came to challenging, I would challenge him with questions that I thought were, the questions that I thought were, presiding officers were scared that they would annoy him. I remember one of the things that I challenged him was I said, once we have completed the work, we do not want to dilly-dally. And presiding officers shouted at me, saying that I should not talk in parables. But Mr. Kasheru laughed and came to where I was, to my desk, and I said, I know what you are saying, and I assure all people that once you have completed the work, you'll be paid in cash and in full. He had been my returning officer in Hamisi, where after we had completed work, we stayed a few more days waiting for our cash. So the way I used to confront him and ask him, and he formed an opinion that I can run a challenging polling station. So he posted me to Lumani polling station, one of the 3 polling stations created by Chesoni, which was not there during the general election, but it had been created for that particular time. On the day of taking material, non-strategic material, we went and I was shown a shop which had been hired by the ECK for the purpose of election. Usually elections are held in public places like schools and so on. But at Lumani in 1994, there was no school, there was no assistant chief office, there was nothing. So a shop was hired. Then we placed there the non-strategic issue. We swept the place. We did everything. Then we went back for the strategic material. That is when Mr. Kasheru gave me money to give it to the shop owner, so that but on condition that he gives me a receipt. So I went with the money, went to the polling station, arrived there at night around 3. When I arrived there at around 3, we prepared everything. Then early in the morning, monitors and journalists, and I remember KTN only used to be seen in Nairobi and Mombasa. KTN was there. There is this Kibwezi lady who was the MP for Kibwezi. She was there. Then I was dragged from the polling room to the next office, to the next shop, which was a hotel owned by Kanu chairman, the area Kanu chairman. So I was being told, how comes that you have placed your polling station next to a Kanu member's place? And there was the 1992 campaign poster of President Moi, in which he was talking with before various microphones, and it was written, Chagua Moi kama Rais. As I was being asked, several TV stations were recording me, and you can guess. I was being asked to remove. I removed all the polling posters. You know, we have these shops which close inwards, and when they open, the doors which were closed in are the ones which had campaign posters for this Kanu candidate, Apid Wawire. And it had Apid Wawire's, the hotel used to belong to Apid Wawire's close relative. So the TV station showed me tearing off those posters. Then I reached Moi's poster. This is a poster which was written, elect Moi, and I saw tearing that would make headlines. So I ordered for the hotel to be closed. When the hotel was closed, I was now asked, how dare you do that? And you see the camera was rolling. I had to think over my feet. Then I removed the receipt from my pocket, showed them. I said, and looking at the other side of the shops, I saw a singular shop far away from the trading center. Then I told them that was the shop we had hired. We have found that the person has locked and run away, and we couldn't trace him. So I used my own money. That is a lie, of course. I used my own money to hire a new one, and I was hiring it at night. I didn't know I'm not a person who comes from there. And instead of me being blasted, the following day in the Standard, I was being highlighted as a very efficient election official. Lastly, the other problem we faced in Lumani was 2 to 3 points. One, I was being asked why the polling station was created. Nobody told me. It was baptism by fire. But when I went to the polling station, I noticed that the mother station, because we had 2 registers, one for the mother station and one, the names which appeared in Lumani are the same names that appeared in Nambirima. And remember, all the 3 candidates came from Nambirima area. That is, Apid Wawire came from Nambirima, Brudi Nabwera came from Nambirima, Fedha Washiko came from Nambirima. This is an election where all the 3 candidates come from one village. And the station Lumani was a cloned from Nambirima. Something came up to me as you leave the Kakamega Road to Nambirima, you reach somewhere where there is a T-junction. Then you turn right towards Nambirima. Then at Nambirima, I asked people how far it is from Nambirima to Lumani. They told me. You see, from Nambirima, if you are traveling with a vehicle to Lumani, you have to go to the T-junction, then turn right. But those who are footing would go through, it makes like a triangle. So walking was a shorter distance than driving. But when I left Nambirima, I had to look at the speedometer, recorded the kilometers, and when we reached Nambirima, I recorded it was about 7 to 8 kilometers. But on foot it was like 4. So when journalists were asking me about that, I said, I think some of the voters saw that Nambirima was far. And then they asked me, there was something funny, because all the voters had new voters cards. So I was asked, how comes that the voters here have voters, new voters cards, or nearly almost all of them? I said, as a presiding officer, so long as your name is in the register, then I have nothing I can explain. So that is how. And then you see, every polling station, you are given ballot papers. And we found that at around 3, our ballot papers got expired. Because it was assumed that for every 3 voters in Nambirima, one came from Lumani. So we were given a third. But things turned out to be the other way around. 2/3 of the voters were from Lumani. So I decided to take a police officer, armed police officer, aged and observers. We went to Lumani. Went to Nambirima. I convinced the presiding officer to give me half of the. You see, I had made an estimate of the people who are there, whom had left at Lumani. So I took a number that I knew would be enough. So I came back and the people voted. That is one of the most challenging stations that I've ever run as a presiding officer of the electoral.